First of all, overpenetration is when the bullet passes through the intended fleshy target and keeps going. This could obviously pose a danger to anyone behind the intended target. What is not overpenetration is when the bullet misses the target completely and hits a wall, but fails to stop in that wall. You can't measure overpenetration by just shooting bullets into walls, though. By the way, unless your walls are made out of concrete, masonry, or very thick lumber, they likely won't stop any bullets. Even when you have underpenetrating rounds, they still go through interior walls and can injure bystanders on the other side. So if you want your bullets to stop even if you miss, you'd better put something on your walls that will actually stop bullets. In this test, we have 12 inches of clear gelatin in front of both an interior and an exterior wall. First of all, expanding projectiles generally travel significantly deeper in clear gel than organic gel. Second of all, the FBI definition of overpenetration is when the projectile passes through over 18 inches of gel, not 12. So we have two factors making it more likely that the bullets will pass through the walls after hitting the gel. And yet, regular hollow points are being stopped by the interior wall. Full metal jackets penetrate too much, and the max expansion round penetrates too little, making them both unsuitable for self-defense. The extreme defense round doesn't overpenetrate the 18-inch mark in organic gelatin, so it's entirely usable for self-defense even though this test makes it appear suboptimal. The rounds in white don't have any advantage over standard defensive rounds, and they likely have multiple disadvantages. The rounds in green are good, and obviously full metal jackets are still unsuitable for self-defense. It's very common for standard double-aught buck to overpenetrate, which makes me wonder why it's so often recommended as a good choice for self-defense. Number 4 buck is generally a good choice, as long as you are within 10 yards of your target. Also, in no circumstance should anyone use birdshot for personal defense against humans. There's obviously more nuance to the subject of choosing buckshot for self-defense. It actually deserves its own video. I showed you these clear gel and wall tests to demonstrate that if you have the right self-defense rounds, even if they hit a fairly skinny adversary, it's very likely that the bullets won't have enough energy to injure somebody on the other side of an interior wall. When you avoid ammo that overpenetrates, chances are that missing the intended target is much more of a danger to bystanders than overpenetration is. People do in fact get injured by stray bullets every year, and some people do unfortunately die because of this. There is an important distinction we have to make though. The majority of stray bullets are fired by criminals who don't respect human life or legal consequences. If we were just looking at rounds fired by law-abiding citizens in self-defense, these numbers would be dramatically lower. Before we move on, I want to mention a caveat about full metal jackets. With handguns in specific low-powered calibers, 22 long rifle, 25 ACP, 32 ACP, and 32 Smith & Wesson long, non-expanding bullets may be required to get good penetration. In this specific circumstance, as long as the ammo you want to use doesn't overpenetrate in gelatin, I would not have any hesitation about using them for self-defense. Just remember, barrel length will have a large impact on penetration depth. Whether you should or shouldn't carry around in the chamber largely depends on the design of your weapon. What you want to have is a handgun that is drop safe, so that it won't go off if you drop it or if you trip and fall with it on your person. A drop-safe revolver uses a transfer bar. It does not have the firing pin on the hammer. Many modern revolvers are made with transfer bars or a similar safety device. Semi-autos typically have a firing pin block to make them drop safe. This includes modern striker-fired handguns like Glocks, Smith & Wesson MMPs, and the updated SIG P320s. Also, if you have a weapon that has a decocker, that weapon will be drop safe when decocked. 1911s may or may not have a firing pin block depending on the model and the manufacturer. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but it's a start. A firing pin block is not the only way to make a 1911 drop safe. Some manufacturers have chosen to use a lighter firing pin or a stronger firing pin spring. Provided the firing spring hasn't been worn out, this solution should work fine, and it has the added benefit of less mechanical complexity in comparison. I should really explain why it's so important to carry around in the chamber of your drop-safe handgun. This is a list of videos where people had to defend themselves and were put at a disadvantage because they did not have a round in the chamber. In a fight for your life, you want to have the most advantages possible. Eliminating the time and movement it takes to chamber a round may be the difference between life and death in a dangerous encounter. It's for this reason that police departments have their officers carry a round in the chamber. After talking about what may or may not be risky, it's important not to lose sight of the bigger picture. The fact of the matter is that there are thankfully relatively few guns that are mechanically or practically unsafe. The majority of gun owners are also responsible people. This is why the greater danger does not come from accidents, but from evil people intentionally harming others. This chart used multiple sources and better illustrates just how much larger the threat of intentional harm is. Logically then, the danger from stray rounds fired in self-defense is far less likely to hurt other people in the house than the much greater danger from the intentionally aimed rounds fired by violent criminals. I'd personally be much more concerned about upgrading your home security so home invasions would be less likely to happen in the first place.